Before we transition to closing this evening, I wanted to go over the current water contamination and pollution because we've seen a lot in the news. And so we want to make sure that people are aware of the current water contamination and pollution so that they can be aware. Again, this is not an exhaustive list, this is just a few that I've seen. So, first things first, there's a massive sewage spill in the Potomac River. Naturally, pathogens, bacteria get introduced into the waterways. So, people that are high risk, immunologically challenged people also are more susceptible. They say that the drinking water is unaffected, but it still remains a threat. So, they say legitimately it's safe for cleaning water, but also have to make sure of skin contact, pet exposures, fishing, and then, of course, downstream runoff. So again, this developing story. This just happened in DC area, Potomac River, about millions of gallons of untreated wastewater in the Potomac River. So lots of bacteria. And remember, with public health issues, sanitation is a big part of it. So when these pathogens and bacteria go into the water stream and people are not aware of it and they utilize it, they can get sick and not even know it, unfortunately. PFAs are a real concern. If you are not familiar with what PFAs are, they are often referred to as forever chemicals. And so this is in the Pittsburgh area near the airport. Now, airports tend to have a lot of PFAs because of all of the various different chemicals that they use to run those planes. And it also can affect the groundwater. So, PFAs are typically measured in parts per trillion. So the concentrations are super, super small. However, they can disrupt your endocrine system, which is your hormone system. Again, suppress your immunity and make you more susceptible to cancer. So definitely making sure in close proximity, airports, military bases, landfills are also areas of that. Sometimes these forever chemicals, unfortunately, cannot be tested. So this is one of those things where we do have to continue to monitor it and continue to see. Speaking of which, with the PFAs, we found in France, they have widespread tap water contamination, as the environmental agencies, health agencies in France are reporting. But this finding really, again, what we see with this is that there's safe limits by the country, but they also don't necessarily have the science or the ability to be able to test and determine all of these various chemicals. When we've got chemicals over here and chemicals over here, and chemicals pretty much everywhere, they can create other chemicals, chemical compounds. And so, these forever chemicals, we really don't know, what their long term effects are going to be. And also, to some of the scientific equipment to be able to monitor those things, unfortunately, is not able to pick up everything at this point. Um, Long term, even though initially they always say, oh, everything's safe, New Jersey just settled a $875 million lawsuit for the impact of PFAs. This was reported with the AP News. This is the DuPont landmark PFA settlement again. And so the settlement happened because people, of course, got sick. There was individual health compensation for the residents. There was obviously full remediation to the communities. And so, again, this is important because it also helps to protect funding for, upgrades and later on use, especially for New Jersey. So I'm hoping that, this can be hopefully, an incentive for different states to take this seriously. On contaminants we watch for right now are going to be, again, your forever chemicals, also pathogens, bacteria, viruses, released through infrastructure failures, unfortunately, and industrial discharge near watersheds. So that's where manufacturing zones are, military, airports, those sorts of things. So, what do these stories have in common? So, out of the four headlines, where we have water contamination, which is a public health issue. It's not discussed enough. It's kind of we know Flint has happened. We know various different areas have been affected, Louisiana, et cetera. However, what is the plan forward, and also what's the public health messaging to the general public so that they can prevent any issues? The government is not designed to save us from everything and prevent everything. And unfortunately, medical doctors, allopaths, do not take these toxins seriously. They dismiss it. Oh, your body's fine, no big deal. But we found accumulations of these toxins over an extended period of time can contribute to cancer, can contribute to autoimmunity, and various other endocrine and hormonal and neurological issues. So it's something that we definitely need to be mindful of, and something that we pay attention to in public health. Again, these forever chemicals combined with failing infrastructure, we have lots of old infrastructure in various areas that need to be upgraded. We need cleaner resources. Unfortunately, with our current administration, they're interested in going back to coal, not necessarily going into more environmentally sound ways and means of doing things. So you definitely need to be proactive instead of reactive, and not necessarily just glaze over and pretend it's not an issue. So remember, again, aging infrastructure, persistent industrial chemicals, so this chronic low exposure from all these related compounds, whether it's forever chemicals, bacteria, pathogens, etc. These can really create cleanup timelines that are measured in decades. So these threats oftentimes are very invisible. People don't pay attention to them. Obviously, public health is not what it used to be. And so I don't think people are watching this particular issue closely. So definitely over time, both of these drivers can affect underserved communities with less access to alternative sources. Not everybody can afford bottled water. Not everyone can afford water filters, etc. So this is something that is the government's responsibility. This is why we pay taxes, to ensure that the infrastructure is safe and sound for all of the general public. So I just want you to answer in the chat, and also just think for yourself. Do you currently filter your drinking water? And so you may not think about it. You may, oh, I'm just going to grab some water from the tap, but there's a lot of unknowns with what is in your tap if you have not tested it. So the second question is, do you know your local water source? Is it city? Is it well? Is it mixed? You can find these resources like I showed you in that webinar. Number three, which worries you most? Is it that bacteria, pathogens, or is it all the forever chemicals and plastics and God only knows what that's in our water supply? Number four, have you read your local water quality report? And then number five, would you pay more for verified infrastructure upgrades? Yes, no, or depends. So naturally, with this current administration, I think that's an interesting question. So we'll see what you guys have to say in the comments. So here's some of my bright ideas, things that I think about. This is probably why I trigger so many people, because I'm like, what about this? But why do we only talk about water safety after a crisis? Why do we only talk about health after you have a diagnosis, right? It's all very reactive. We have an opportunity right now to be proactive. We're seeing some of these issues pop up in different areas. And so this is now the time to remediate it, not wait. Another kind of food for thought: what's the difference between legal limits and health protective limits? So what is the responsibility of the administration versus what's the responsibility of us as the citizens of the country, to make sure that our health is taken into consideration? So again, legal limits and health protective limits may be two different limits. And so really making sure that you are proactive and educated about your health. Who is most burdened when pollution happens, and why? Naturally, people in socioeconomically depressed areas who don't have access, don't have alternative means to get out, to move, etc. And what does polluter pays look like in real life? Obviously, there's been many, many settlements, even with glyphosates and various different things over the years, but it doesn't seem to deter companies from slashing and deregulating environmental standards and really paying fast and loose with people's health. And what should the public standard be for trust and transparency? So again, we should be informed, we should be educated, shouldn't be buried, at the bottom of a news cycle about our water system. Lastly, there was a recent oil and fuel spill in the James River as well. This has been since cleaned up, but this was most recent in February 13th. Thousands of gallons of jet fuel went into the river, as we see here. And so there's an initial impact. Naturally, they did quickly clean it up with Coast Guards, etc. They say that the drinking water is healthy, but if you are in the Hampton Roads, Newport News, etc. area, you may want to check your water to be on the safe side. So, closing reflection. Remember, this is not about fear. This is about informed awareness. When we understand our environment, we're better equipped to make grounded, preventative, and evidence based informed health decisions. This is not woo woo. This is not buy a supplement. This is your water. Make sure your water is clean and healthy. Check your water, test your water, um, look at your water's municipality, find out if you have well or if you have city water. Do your due diligence. Don't just leave it up to chance. You don't know what you don't know. I will be providing in our community monthly environmental health briefings. I will be popping one in the March 1st. So any new, I'm just kind of collecting stories now. And so any new ones, I'll drop them in the community. So if you're not a part of the community, feel free to join in the link in the bio. Lastly, the other thing I'm dropping in our community is a clean water guide, which gives really good educational information about different filters, what filters are, etc. Different testing, how to test, how to find all the different resources so that you can really be informed, but also not just stripping out all of the toxins and various things, but making sure that you maintain your minerals in there. So definitely pick up that free guide in our community by clicking the link in the bio. So wonderful. If you are going to stick around for evening flow, I kind of pushed it this evening to a little bit later just to accommodate the webinar for this evening. So if you are going to check out our evening flow class, definitely check it out. Our replays are on YouTube, and naturally we run it on loop a few times on TikTok. So, all right, have an amazing day. It's great to see you guys again.